All right, Athlete Builder back at it. New format today. Got a duo on, two of the three Thieneman brothers, Purdue grads. So huge bias for me being a Purdue alum. And as always, we're brought to you by the AEA Institute, the Mental Edge Academy. I head up the athletic division. Summer initiative, our boot camp starts Monday. Get a hold of us today. Our symposium is tonight. Dr. Pat Ivy out of University of Louisville heads up all sports performance, heads it up. We're going to talk all things football and summer related. Today we have Brennan and Jake Thieneman. Their brother Dylan cannot be here. He's off being a Chicago Bear. They played football at Purdue. My son played at Ball State. You guys played at Purdue. Similar to Jack, walked on and then became badasses in that they were starting, they were recognized by the Big Ten, they were captains, they did all the things, and now they're all in performance, training people to be the best versions of themselves. Really looking forward to it. Brennan and Jake, thanks so much for being here. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you having us. Happy to be
Thank
here.
you, man. Excited to get into it.
Awesome. Let's see. I'm going to start off with you going by name, that way the listeners know who's who. So Brennan, favorite away game to play at, favorite venue?
That I have played at?
Yeah.
Would probably be Penn State. It's a wild environment. Was not fortunate enough to play in the whiteout like the little brother did, but it's a wild environment, 105, 110,000 people.
Going nuts. People start rolling in Wednesday, Thursday night for a Saturday game. Super fun. I've only been there once. Beautiful campus too. Just awesome venue. Anything you remember in particular about that game?
I remember they went up pretty quickly on us, unfortunately. That was 2019. We ended up losing 35-7. They very quickly went up on us, unfortunately. But what I did notice specifically more than any other stadium was like mid-play, once they like busted a long run or a pass that was caught, even mid-play when you're adrenaline, you're focused on like the runner and like tackling them, like you feel and hear the roar of the fans. Like that was something I didn't notice in hardly any other stadium. It was like mid-play noticing the roar of the crowd.
Usually people are so locked in, sometimes it even goes kind of quiet in their head.
Yeah.
But it's that big of an impact. How about you, Jake? Favorite away game venue?
So I was unfortunately I wasn't able to play at Penn State, Ohio State, or Michigan, some of the historic places. So out of the places I did play at, my favorite was Nebraska. And their stadium setup is really cool. On game day, it's like the third most populated city in the state of Nebraska because they got nothing else going on there except growing corn, I guess. But Indiana corn's better, as we all know. So that game was just so exciting because there's just so many people. And with the second level of the stadium, like most college stadiums are like a bowl setup, but they had a second level. And so it felt more pro style, like they were really high up over on top of you. And then on the opposite of what Brennan said of the noise at Penn State, what stood out there was the silence. So my fifth year when we were playing there, we got the W. And just when you make a play and there's 90,000+ people in there, just completely silent to the point you could hear a pen drop, it's pretty cool.
Wow.
It's a pretty cool feeling.
You just know that you're impacting that whole crowd. You're changing how they feel.
Yeah. Ruined their whole day. It was awesome.
Right.
What's wild about that game that he's talking about is after we won, I don't remember the exact score, but I'm pretty sure we blew them out. Like they're high-fiving us leaving the field. They're like, "Thanks for coming." Like I've never witnessed a fan base do that. They were the nicest fans I've ever come across.
Nicest fans by far in the Big Ten.
Not even close.
Wow.
They love their Cornhuskers.
I guess so. Is there a fan story you're like, man, you won't believe this happened? Like one of my coworkers way back when he played for Notre Dame, they're playing at LSU, they're walking out of the tunnel and the fans are spitting on them. Right? So some places are pretty rough. And I'm from Ohio, and I know the Ohio State fans can be a bit obnoxious, right? Any fan thing like this is crazy or this is awesome or you won't believe what goes on here?
The immediate, when you talk about aggressive fans, so the opposite of Nebraska would be Iowa.
Yep. I was thinking Iowa too.
The fans, like, so their stadium in particular is very vertical. So the the stands are very close to the sideline, right? So you're sitting on the bench and it feels like they're right behind you, and you can hear everything they're saying. And pretty much the entire game, they're talking smack to the players. You know, you have like a dude who's like in his beer belly holding a beer, and he's like talking smack to our like 300-pound strength coach. And it's just, it blows my mind. And then in years past, I wasn't even there. I was told a story about that it was snowing, and the fans kept pelting snowballs or ice balls at our Purdue Pete mascot to the point where he had to go into the locker room.
And the cheerleaders too. They were hitting the cheerleaders with snowballs.
Jeez. Now, see, I'm from Cleveland, and the Browns fans, they're pretty rough. And that's the Browns fans are the reason that every time you get a drink, they have to take the top off
Really?
because they were throwing full bottles at the refs after this game got out of hand because they made some mistakes. And they're hitting refs and then opposing players from the dog pound with these bottles and these with the tops still on, so they're still full and heavy and easier to throw. And because of that game, plastic containers, no lids. Not impressive, just totally bad character. But being from Cleveland, that's one of the many black spots about being a Browns fan, I can tell you. Let me ask you this about Iowa. What I've heard and read, what color is the visiting players' locker room?
It's a light, very soft pink. Honestly, I think it backfires on them at this point. So they painted it like a light, soft pink color. So it's very like calming and it's soothing. So that the away team goes out a little soft. But if like as a team, like if you have any sort of preparation, you go into that week knowing that. So the whole week, the coaching staff is telling you like they want you to be soft. They want you to come out weak because of the locker room. And so like we're in there and we're like talking about it, and you're hyping yourself up because of it. It's like an extra thing, like going against you, like an extra level of adversity. And so I think at this point it has the opposite effect. And then when you go in and you beat them, it's really funny afterwards.
You're taking pictures of the pink locker room celebrating.
Right? So at first, when it wasn't really, I don't know, articulated or not well known, it could maybe have had the desired effect. But now you guys go in and it completely flips because you see this event, you know what's coming, you change your mindset and approach to it, and now it's a motivator. So
Mhm.
they might want to just make it black and gold or black and yellow for their own home team.
Yeah. I loved
Yeah.
playing at Iowa for both of those reasons. Like going in, like they want you to be soft, the fans are going to be on you. I was like, it was a little extra, add a little extra to the game. It was fun.
And the style of play too. Like it's very like hard run. Like you know it's going to be a physical game. And then add the pink locker room and the aggressive fan base. Like it's a very fun experience. Even better when you win.
For sure.
Always better when you win.
Always better when you win. Wisconsin's known for a lot of running, right? They're known for a
Mhm.
number of things. So that's usually they got big boys up front and they're going to run it quite a bit. What's it like going into a game like that when you know it's going to be a lot of run?
Definitely need to be mentally prepared for a long game. And unfortunately, Purdue doesn't have the best track record with Wisconsin. I think it's 20 plus years of straight losses. And it didn't make it any better that pretty much my entire career, they had Jonathan Taylor. So that definitely takes a beating on you tackling that man repeatedly. But in my junior year, we went to either double or triple overtime. So even an extended long game. So yeah, you got to bring your lunch pail. That's gonna be a long one.
Brennan, you had a pretty one of the best plays of your career against Jonathan Taylor. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, that was second half of 2019 season at Wisconsin. It was Jonathan Taylor's senior night, and um, I think it was a pitch play. He came out around the outside, and there was a lead blocker, and one of my outside backers like collided with him, and I anticipated he was going to cut back inside, and so I was cutting inside, and then right as I was getting there, he cut back in, and I basically shot and like kind of scooped him, and he basically knocked the ball out, and team recovered it, and that was actually his third fumble of the night on his senior night.
Rough. Good for you though, right?
Pretty epic play. It's a pretty epic play. But yeah, going into Wisconsin, they've got another, like after Nebraska, for me, Wisconsin was the second coolest environment just because they're so loud and aggressive. They're not like disrespectful like Iowa fans, but they're in it. The jump around is really cool after the third quarter. And because of their style of play similar to Iowa's, you just know it's going to be like old, like traditional Big Ten football. They're going to run a lot of power. Being with our scheme, we ran a one high defense, and so Brennan and I played strong safety for a lot of that. So we'd be rolled down near the line of scrimmage, and so we know we've got to either like set the edge, we've got to spill lead blocks, and so we're like in the mix, and so you got to prepare for a physical game.
When you say you have to be mentally prepared for a physical game, what's the action item to do there? Like, what's that mean?
I think it starts with the preparation going into the game. It's not just like what you do right before. This is something that you mentally and physically prepare for. Mentally, you're going through the mental reps, envisioning the plays, how they're going to turn out, where you're going to be, how you're going to fit in each play. That comes with film study, but that also comes with like just mental reps in your head, envisioning it as you're laying in bed, like before you go to sleep, of like how the game is going to go. That and your preparation physically with practice and having a physical week, not just soft wrapping up during practice, actually thudding, setting the tone early in the week in practice of how you're going to play. You always play like you practice. So if you have a soft week of practice, you're probably going to have a soft game.
Mm-hmm. And going into it, like you have to expect every single player. And safety is one of those roles where it's like, depending on the scheme and the team you're playing, you're doing a lot of different things. So like you could be back playing free safety and like not touch someone the entire game. You can only be chasing deep routes. You could be playing a combination. You could be down by the line of scrimmage and you're taking on lead blockers and you're filling gaps every single play. So each game looks different depending on the team you're playing and the scheme that you're running. So it's what looks are you going to see? What plays are you prepared to make? And then just mentally being prepared, like you might have to make 12 tackles this game. And that's different than when you're playing a spread team and you're just in coverage the whole time and you might have 3 tackles. And that's good because it means your team's doing better. And another example of like what you have to be prepared for. We had a horrible track record in college of we wouldn't knock the quarterback out of the game with like an injury. And then the backup quarterback would come in, and the backup quarterback was a dual threat quarterback, but the first string was a pocket passer. And so it was a totally different style of play, and then we'd lose the game. That happened probably 3 different times.
That sucks. I can attest about the Purdue not doing well versus Wisconsin. If you can see this hat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What that says on the side is College Game Day. And this style hat only comes out when the school hosts a game day with Herb Street and everybody else. So when you go to Michigan, it'll be maize and blue, and it's the same blue or maize on top. So I got this hat the last time Purdue hosted game day. It was against Wisconsin, and there was a late turnover against Kyle Orton and a scoop and score with Wisconsin's amazing edge guy, and it just crushed everybody. It was a night game. So, it starts at 7. We were there 8 in the morning on Slater Hill making bad choices for a good 10 plus hours before we lube ourselves up and get over to the game. And we're sitting right underneath the scoreboard screaming. And then it happened. And it's just like, oh, God, no. And it was against Wisconsin. So I'll never forget that because I was so excited for this game day hat. I'm like, oh man, look at me. Right. And, just ripped my heart out. Such a big bummer. Let me ask you this. You said you got to mentally prepare. So I always say confidence comes from reps. If you've been in a physical game before, you know how your body feels at the end for a day or two, right? You know that late in the third and fourth quarter, it's to be another hit and another hit. Sometimes if it's, like you said, if you have 12 tackles, you got to like prepare that, hey, that week, I'm asking that, hey, there's going to be a level of pain all the time, and you got to be comfortable inflicting and receiving it and still going all out the next play, because my guess, and I'm asking, once you start to break there, hey, I don't want to get hit this hard again, then you're really going to get run over and beat pretty bad. So the mental approach that, hey, accepting this is how this next 3 hours is going to be, and still being intentional and applying. Am I off base there, or is that close?
I'd say it's pretty close. Like, you could be the hammer, you could be the nail. So it's what's going to be your approach, play in and play out. And if you go into a game and you're not mentally prepared for what the physical battle is going to look like, it can wear you down. And so it's just like expectations versus reality with going into it.
There's also a aspect of maybe with not wanting to hit physicality, like an aspect of fear to it that's normally built up and is more than it actually is. It's like similar to the nerves you get before a game, and then you go out there, you do a couple plays, you're like, oh, okay, this is fine. I can do this. I know how to play football. Like as soon as you get that first hit, it kind of like warms you up. Like, oh, I can. Okay, this is what is about to be for the next 2 hours. Like I can do this. Like especially if you laid the wood early. Like if you set the tone, you were the hammer, then that gives you a lot of motivation drive. Like, okay, I can do this. Like I can throw the beating down, and then that gives you a lot of momentum throughout the rest of the game. Vice versa, if you get your bell rung first play and you're the nail and some dude runs you over, like you might be getting in your head. And if you let that get to you, that can lead to a string of events that turns into a bad game. So it all comes down to mental fortitude.
It's amazing how beforehand, like we are preconditioned to assume negative things. We have to specifically choose to either ignore or redirect focus. And once you have a rep, you're like, okay, because up until then it's either hope or belief or faith, but you still don't know until you have that rep. Like you believe you can squat 500. I've never done it before. 475 was fast. All right, I put 500 on my back. All right, I'm a little hesitant, but I believe I have it. Once you squat it, you're like, oh, fuck, yeah, I'm a 500 squatter, right? Until you have that hit, you're like, well, shoot, you're still kind of wondering. So I always tell people, just step forward and find some data so then you can move to the next iteration. And when I was coaching my son with football, what I showed him was, because I'm a big dork, and I was telling Brennan beforehand, Jake, that I was in engineering at first at Purdue before I was invited not to return. Transferred over to business. But I took 2 cue balls from a pool table, same mass, right? I'm rolling one really slowly. I roll the other one faster, and they collide. The faster one stops and still moves a little bit forward. The slower one hits the faster one, then bounces back. And I said, that's just physics, Jack. So it's force equals mass times acceleration. And if you hesitate and slow down, you're having deceleration, less force. So when you hit someone, you're going to hurt more. So if you commit to hit somebody, hit them with everything you have. That way you feel it. That way you feel it less. Can you speak to that at all?
Definitely, I love that you applied physics to it because that is how it goes. And if you there's an aspect of technique to it. There's an aspect of speed and velocity. There's also like a mental aspect and knowing that you're not going to slow up. You are going to commit fully to this hit, and you're not going to understanding that if you slow up and don't fully commit to it, the dude's going to run you over, especially if it's a Big Ten running back. That always has to be taken into account. And then also like aspect of technique and like where you're hitting them is also important. Like knowing your size and knowing their size and understanding the physics that you just noted. And it's like, okay, if you got Derrick Henry in the A gap, full speed, maybe you shouldn't hit him high. That's just me though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say was the leverage of like where you hit them. Because you can, if say, like I played at like 205, 208. If we regularly saw running backs that were 220, 230 plus, and sometimes upwards of 250. If I run in there and even if I have the perfect angle and I'm full speed and I'm committed, but I hit him at his midsection center of gravity or high, I'm going to bounce off him and I'm going to get run over on national television. So it's like it's about where you're hitting him and the leverage that you have with that, and also a lot of angles plays into that as well.
Gotcha. In your preparation leading into it, I want to draw a parallel here on how you talked about hitting someone that one, you have to commit. So if you commit to your preparation training all week long, that's different. Like you could be committed, but you still have to have the right angle. You have to know what to do. I could be committed in a driven person, but I'm running around a table not making progress, but I'm committed. So you still have to increase your level of knowledge of what you do. And then it comes time to apply it. When you guys deal with parents or athletes, yeah, there's a level of commitment, but sometimes like I've had people come into my gym and say, "Hey Jim, I don't know the difference between fat, carb, and protein." Like they're committed, they want to get better. They don't know shit, right? Talk about how it takes a level of commitment, but there's still the knowledge, the nuts and bolts of what to do to actually make progress.
There's an aspect to knowledge of it for sure. Like people don't have an idea of what the roadmap is, and a lot of times you need to show that to them. Um, the funny thing is that I would have more sympathy to that maybe 10, 20 years ago, but I mean now in this day and age, it's like a majority of the knowledge is out there, can easily be obtained if you seek it. Like how many parents or athletes that you're thinking of like have these questions and haven't taken the first step to finding that answer? Or if you give them the answer, how many times have they not done anything with it and go on their day? I think that comes down to part of the drive of like truly wanting something. Like how bad do you want it? People say they want things, but they don't say that only with a certain amount of effort or a
Yeah.
certain amount of work they got to put in. Right.
Yeah.
I'd say, "Oh, you want this candy bar?" It's like, "Yeah, I want that." It's like, "Okay, well, do you want it if you have to walk a mile for it?" Like, no. It's like, "Okay, well, you want something only to a certain amount of effort or work that you're willing to put in for it." It's like a cost benefit analysis that everyone has, or maybe hasn't really fully worked out, but it all comes at a cost. And if that's part of the reason why, like, a program like ours, that our coaching program, like we provide the knowledge, but we also help with the mindset. And that's probably the biggest thing that we coach. People join our program to get in shape and be healthier and move better and feel better. And those are a lot of the byproducts. But a lot of times we're coaching, the biggest thing we're coaching is the mindset. And that trickles in all areas of life, not just fitness and nutrition.
Yeah, it's wanting the outcome, but not willing to pay the price for it. And the price for it is not just the work you have to do, it's the person you have to become. So when Brennan talks about like the mindset that goes into it, like an average athlete and an elite athlete are two different people mentally. And so if you want to go from average to elite, like you have to become a different person. And to become a different person, that means letting go of the person that you are now. But the problem is people hang on to the person that they are now and want that thing, but don't do the work or make the changes or go through the mental process to become that person. And so then they're just stuck looking at it from the outside. And what another thing we noticed a lot with that is like a lot of times parents want it more for the athlete than the athlete wants it themselves. Like it's like it would be nice thing, but the athlete doesn't understand like what goes into that and what it takes. And a part of that is just not understanding the situation and the experience and like what it means. Or like, they're a sophomore in high school, they don't understand the opportunity that they have in front of them and how this is like finite. And that they don't realize that until later. Their parents have already learned that, and so they want them to know that, but it's not being like properly communicated. So yeah, that's something that we've seen a lot.
Brain doesn't fully develop until around age 25. We're asking 15-year-olds to be 10 years older on their maturity rate. I totally agree that you have to be this different person. And I'm normally an outgoing person, but when I was 12, one of the first years I got to play baseball, you had to sell a box of candy bars to earn your uniform. And the box was 30 candy bars. Each one's $1. There's a $1 off coupon on the back for Wendy's. So I'm telling people, hey, if you help me out, you buy a candy bar for $1, you get this $1 coupon. It's essentially free. And you're helping me sell enough candy bars to get my uniform. Well, that year I really wanted a Nintendo when it first came out, and it wasn't in the cards at that point in time, right? And because it was expensive, $99, and I wanted to play Mike Tyson Punch Out and Super Mario Brothers. And so after I sold my first box of candy bars that first night, I bring the money to the coach, and he says, Jim, if you sell more bars, you get more prizes. And I go, What are we talking about? He goes, well, the top prize is a Nintendo. All right, now we're talking. How many boxes of 30 do I need to sell for a $99 Nintendo? He goes, if you sell 36 boxes of 30, you'll have a Nintendo. Got it. Sold them all. Got my
Let's
Nintendo.
go.
That's awesome.
And so I'm playing Mike Tyson Punch-Out, and I'm playing Super Mario Brothers, and I put it on the TV, and then later, a few years later, I wanted something better, so I ended up selling that one. I put an ad in a newspaper you guys don't have, and someone came and bought my Nintendo. So I just doubled down on the next system, and I wanted Nintendo. And you talk about being a new person. I think my finding is that when those people really struggle to be a new person, a lot of times it requires a new ecosystem of people. So they're not really necessarily paying me for the knowledge of how to eat like you guys just demonstrated. It's one, the accountability, but two, if all your people are out eating like shit or out boozing or not training, right? You grow up in that environment, and then that's what you become, your 5 closest friends. When your youngest brother sees my older brothers, this is how we do things. Now it's just, this is the culture, this is the standard of our family. So talk about having to elevate your friend group, your colleagues, and I refer to them as not necessarily your friends, but you're looking more for allies to be the person you want to be.
Percent. I mean, that's another reason why we push, like anytime a client joins, we push them like, hey, who else around you also needs this? Because like anytime we've had friends that join together or spouses, coworkers, like they see the most benefit because they have an accountability partner with them, someone who's on the journey, right? You are a reflection of the 5 closest people around you, right? The power of influence is real. You can't deny that. And constantly, like, as you said, like, this is just what we do. Like, if you are in a family and they have certain habits or they constantly do certain things, you form the narrative of this is what people do. This is the norm. And then you do those things unless you actively try to prevent that. Same thing with friends. The power of influence is real. So putting yourself in the environment to be successful is so important. And that's why that's really why a lot of the clients like benefit from accountability programs is they put themselves in that environment. They have someone that is constantly checking in on them. They have to answer to someone other than themselves, right? I frame it like this, in terms of like on the topic of like motivation. Like I had a client yesterday that's like, I'm not motivating. I don't want to work out anymore. And I talked about the purpose and like the journey where we're at, but it's like, I phrased it like this. I'm sure you didn't want to get up to go to work today, but you did. You do it every day. Why? Because that's who you are. You're someone who makes money, who works a job. Also, you had someone to answer to, your boss, who would have fired you if you're not coming to work. It's the same thing with the accountability program. They have a check-in call that they have to attend, and then they have to answer to me whether they have or have not been doing what they've been doing. It's an external source of accountability that they can't cheat. And so it provides a structure that a lot of people need when forming those habits, when they haven't establish that identity yet. When it's something that they're trying to form, they need a lot of more structure. And that's typically what we aim to provide.
100%. If you want an outcome, and that could be for an athlete, some sort of athletic achievement, getting to the next level. It could be getting in shape for a person. It could be something professionally, career, business, making money, whatever. Do you want to make it easier for yourself or harder for yourself? And so making it easier for yourself would be putting yourself in an environment where it's easier to get done. So if you're around people that do the same thing, they're on the same path, that makes it 10 times easier. If you have someone checking in on you, that makes it easier. Conversely, in the opposite, if no one else is on that same path as you and they're going to pull you down or they're going the opposite direction, that's just another thing that you have to overcome. If someone around, say you're trying to get in shape and your spouse is not on board, that's something else you have to overcome. If all of your friends love, going to happy hours and drinking beer and eating nachos, and you're trying to make that change, like that's now something else you have to overcome. And that goes into that price you have to pay.
be this different person. When I was telling Brennan beforehand that when I was at a JP Morgan last and dealing with the high net worth clients, we take them out to a lot of meals that are 1,500 calories easy without any kind of drinks, right? And I decided after this cathartic moment to change my lifestyle physically and, for me and my family. And so I would still go to those client meetings, but I would make them lunches. And in the evenings, I wasn't scheduling those anymore. Instead, I was going to the gym. So the coworkers said, "Hey, BB, let's go out, let's get a few beers. Let's get a whiskey and a cigar." I was going over to the gym to train. So they were still my colleagues at work, but they weren't really my friends anymore. My new friends, new person, were the people I was lifting with, running with, doing obstacle course races, etc. with. So a whole different person. You put that in today's environment where like you're a loser, you're considered a loser, and if you're a tryhard, like you believe that's actually a phrase, a tryhard, you're a tryhard, man, go fuck yourself. What's wrong? How could you say that? That's a bad word, right? That's ridiculous.
What's the alternative? Like a not try or a try
Right.
medium?
Yeah,
Like,
right. Just give up person. Oh yeah, look at me. I'm cool. I don't do anything. Disgusting. So that's the
And
entire.
those are the people that settle. They don't chase greatness. They don't seek to become the best versions of themselves. And they most likely will never know what that's like because they settle. They accept what is easy, what is simple, and they don't push the limits of what they're capable of. Jake and I are very fortunate that I've said this before. It feels like we had a 40-year like life experience in 4 years because like with our walk on journey, like we accomplished something that we didn't think we could do. And that just expanded our horizons and made us realize like we don't, even today now, I truly don't have a grasp of what I'm capable of. But all you can do is push and keep pushing further. And then you'll eventually you'll push the limits. You'll know what your full potential is if you push it. But a lot of people don't do that and they settle, which those are the people that are hating on the tryhards. Those are the settlers.
and it's the mirror effect when someone like folds on their dreams and they're not pushing for that next level, like whatever that next level is in whatever domain, and then they see someone around them do that, they try to, they're starting to get in shape, they're starting to level up a career, like whatever it is, it holds a mirror up to their face so they see back the things they aren't doing that they wish they were, and it stinks. Like it stinks because it's like, oh, we were at the same level and now you've ascended. That either makes you different or me just subpar. And so that hurts for a lot of people. So that's where they throw those things out. We've seen this with a lot of our clients. They'll start to make progress, and then someone around them in their circle, they get compliments for sure, but then someone around them will say something negative, kind of like snap at them a little bit. And we talk about this. Is like it's exactly what that is. It's just you're just holding up a mirror to them, showing them what they aren't doing.
The way people end up justifying it, because it's an ego preservation tactic, is they'll say, "Oh, he was born that way." Thieneman brothers, they were born that way.
Mm-hmm.
They were already given that way. It couldn't be that they did things to change, right? Now, let's be real here, though. What percentage play in college? 7%. What percentage play D1 sports? 2%. On a 100-man roster at Purdue, only 22 start. So 22 of 2% starters. And you guys were all whatever, Big Ten, all something, smaller percentage. And then one of you guys are captains, smaller percentage. And then one of you guys got drafted. That's a dumb percentage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to come to you like, man, I'm not a 0.5%. I'm not a 1%er like you guys. I'm not like, you guys don't know, like, because they're not 1%ers, right? And to achieve and be at that high level, be the best version of yourselves, like even David Goggins says that in a 100-person platoon, 10 are warriors, but there's only one badass going out there whooping ass, right? 1 out of 100. So when you're dealing with average Joes, like I'm not anything special, just average Joe, 51-year-old, did some things physically, but didn't start lifting until 38. Was fat for most of my life. How do you relate to those folks, or how do they relate to you, or how do you bridge that gap? Because you guys, it's already interwoven in your psyche We're the Thieneman brothers. We just go out there and whoop ass. This is what we do. We push, right? And if that's not their lifestyle for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, how do you bridge that gap? Because that's tough.
You said some very nice things about what Brennan and I were able to do. We walked on, became team captains, had great careers at Purdue. Our younger brother Dylan just got drafted first round of the Chicago Bears. There's an order of magnitude difference between what we were and what he is. And we have the same parents. We have the same genetics. Yet, it's like, it's inarguable that like he got a little bit of the extra gifts. He's a little faster than us and all of that. So like we can't have that excuse, right? Did he get a little extra? Yes, but we still have the same genetics at the end of the day. People can look at that and be like, oh man, he's so much better than us. But Brennan and I don't think that way. We celebrate, each other's success. But that's because Brennan and I did everything we could to reach our own potential. If Brennan and I folded and didn't do everything that we did to get as high as we could, there may be some negative feelings there. There may be a little, but that doesn't come from, oh, he got so much more. That comes from, I didn't do everything I could with what I was given. So you can't, you're dealt the hand you're dealt. You got to play it to the best of your ability. And people want to use that excuse of their situation, their genetics, their family, where they were born, like whatever the excuse is, but they're still not maximizing what they have. Their potential is so much higher than they will ever reach, but they're using that other thing as the excuse. Everyone is capable of so much more than they possibly think they are, like Brennan just said. And you can't even fathom what you're capable of, because if you're constantly getting better, you're constantly capable of more. So if you're constantly pursuing that, you will never hit your true potential, because you're always getting better and you're always capable of more. And so if you're not on that path, then that is where that starts to come in, and then you start to look in other areas and make those excuses.
Let's say most people have a ceiling that is like, if they reach their potential, they would be more than happy, more than satisfied with where they are or what they achieved, and society would also agree with that. Anyone saying like, "Oh, my genetics are against me." Let's talk about in the physical example of like getting in shape, right? Someone's looking at someone with six-pack abs, is like, "Oh, his genetics are better than mine. I can't get like that." Yes, people have different ceilings, but his ceiling being higher than your ceiling doesn't explain why you're down here significantly lower than your ceiling. Everyone can get to a point where they feel happy about, they feel confident in, that would make them feel like they achieved their full potential. And as Jake noted, we feel good about our journey because we know that we maximized out what we could get. And that's what I tell anyone. It's like, if you're going to do something, like, give it your all, go all in, because in the end of the day, if you know that you did that and you put everything in, wherever the chips fall, like, you're going to live with, you're going to be good with, because you gave it all, you didn't let up. You won't have any what if. You maximized your opportunity, maximized your potential. And that really helps you sleep at night over the regret of, what if I gave it my all? What if I really tried this opportunity? What if I took that chance? What if? I don't want to ask what ifs. I want to know the answer.
There's nothing more disappointing than a wasted potential. So I've got two scenarios on this. Brennan, were we ever the most gifted players on the team? Did we see dozens of super gifted players just never even touch the field?
Yes, and the higher level we went, the more we saw that.
It was honestly wild, because sometimes it was the most gifted guys athletically that were just like horrible football players. And so, it just goes to show, you don't have to be the most gifted in any area. Your max potential is higher than someone who's really gifted. Say they're more gifted, and their max potential is higher than yours, but they're not taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
People think it's this big gap, but it's not. You can go as far as you can take it, and you'll be totally fine with that. The second example, I was fortunate to get signed by the Giants as an undrafted free agent. And so I get in the locker room, I sit down, and across from me is Saquon Barkley.
Bro.
And so we're going through we go through some workouts, and I see this man run. Up until that point, it had been 10 years since I dedicated myself to working. I'm not talking like going to practice and playing on a team. I'm talking like I am training intently. I am actively trying to become the best player I can be every single day. It had been a decade at that point. I was very comfortable with I was very proud of where I'd gotten. I felt like I had achieved mastery in what I was doing. And then I saw that man run. And I knew that if I had another decade to train, I could never touch that level. And I was okay with that. Because
Right.
I knew I had maxed out. I had done I was like, there is nothing else I could have done. Like, there was nothing. Like, I pushed the upper limit on everything, and I had hit my potential. And so it was okay.
That's the deal. I totally agree. And I got a couple of different examples. Like, I didn't really start lifting until 38 and got really lean and healthy like I wanted. Then learned powerlifting as strongman and then put on a bunch of weight to compete because I'm actually competing at a master's level. And by my 45th, 46th year, like I was 300 plus pounds, but 800 yoke carry, 300 farmer's carry per hand. And then had a number of injuries. And God says, hey, man, you're 46. Your body shouldn't be holding on to this anymore. You're going to get told, you're told no. And so then I stopped. I had a blood clot and I had a bunch of fractures from all the weight. But people said, hey, man, aren't you upset that you didn't win this or you didn't do that? I said, man, I force-fed myself for 5 years to be at this weight. I took all the supplements I can that were legal, and I trained through so much pain. I had pain walking up and down the stairs because you're 800 pounds on your back plus 300 on your body, right? It hurts. And say, hey, I did my best, right? I don't feel bad. So now I lose this weight because if you don't compete anymore, you really can't be 320 pounds and be healthy. Lose a bunch of weight, and I'm running this podcast, and I have a bunch of Navy SEALs on, and they're doing this huge fundraiser, which is coming up in August, where they swim across the Hudson River. And they say, hey, Jim, if you're all about athlete builder and building mindset, and you could build any athlete from scratch, do you want to swim across the river with us? And I'm like, motherfucker, like, how could you ask me that, on a live show, right? And because I one of my challenges is that if a teammate asks for something, the last thing I would ever want to do is let that person down. Now, I learned how to swim as a kid, but I could swim up to a bar and that's it. And I've been in shape, like I can lift and I could run and do some things, but swimming's different, right?
Yeah.
You can't breathe when your face is in the water. So I said yes. I said yes, and I gave myself a 15-month runway to get ready for this swim the following year. And the first day in the pool, I swam one length, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And the lifeguard says, hey man, don't die on me. And I'm like, okay, dude. So I swam 10 lengths, was completely out of sorts, couldn't figure out the breathing, and I'm like, I am at the bottom. But kept a journal of every training session, and 15 months later, I qualified. I swam 3 miles without stopping underwater, without stopping in a pool. Did a bunch of push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups, and I qualified. Great. There's still how do you swim in open water because when your face is in the water, you can't see because it's black, right? Versus a pool where you can see the line, there's light, everything's great. So then I signed up for this triathlon, and I'm just swimming 500 meters and versus a 3-mile swim, and I'm a pure panic. I can't see. I'm going to drown. I flip over on my back and I make it across the finish line eventually. And my wife's like, that was bad. Because she's real good at being an accountability ally. She goes, that didn't look good at all. You are not ready. And so I went back to my coach. I had to hire one to teach me all these things. And I'm like, so we're practicing at this local pond where my wife would be on a paddle board in case I drown, right? So she's there and I'm practicing this pond. My buddy's house. It's like I'm swimming back and forth, learning how to swim where you can't see and getting more and more comfortable with it. And so when I got comfortable, she starts swinging at me with the paddle to make sure, like, hey, you see what's coming at you? This could be a wave. This could be a bull shark in the Hudson River. So, like, she's swinging at me, trying to make me prepared. And so I go through that, and I go do another triathlon, but I'm kind of like struggling. And she goes, you're still not ready. And we go back to the coach and tell her that. And I go, all right. So I lay out in the pool training, I lay out the training and my reps, the food, all the water. And I said, here are the days I need to swim in a lake to get ready. And here's the distance. We got to go to Lake Michigan up by, South Bend, Chicago, practice in a bigger lake with its more waves. And we need to do a longer triathlon. That's a mile swim. And so I said, I laid out all these things. I need to check all these boxes if I want a shot. And she goes, only then can you say that you were all in. I'm like, all right, roger that. So I go through all the things, check all the boxes, and I'm feeling pretty good. And I break it down. So my technique, my mantra is, if you could just focus on one small little thing versus the whole totality of swimming 3 miles across the Hudson River, around the Statue of Liberty, and over to Manhattan, right? Can you break it down so it's just one small little focal point? So for me, it was 10 and 1. So every time I would stroke, left, right, I was stroke with my left and I breathe on my left. That's 1. I do another one. That's 2. After the 10th stroke, I would do a breaststroke so I could look up and see where I am. I would redirect myself in case I'm off by a little bit. And you're not going to get that far off after 10 strokes. So I'm 10 and 1, 10 and 1, 10 and 1. When we insert after the couple mile run, we jump off a bridge. Can you believe it? In the Hudson, and we had the swim buoy that's attached to us, so that in case we start to drown and die, someone's going to come save us. And the swim buoy gets ripped off me, and it's gone in the first second. So I go and fetch it. There's a hole in it, but the bladder's still intact. So I tie a knot, and it's still on me, but everything's bad, and it's taking on water, like step 1. Well, now I'm back into the 10 and 1. 10 and 1, trying to get to the Statue of Liberty, going up against the current. Something I haven't prepared for, and I'm really struggling, but I'm just doing the best. And after that first leg, there's a rest point, and I go to the coach because there's a few of us that were so far behind that they had to help. They picked us up in a boat and dropped us off and said, you guys are too slow. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. But I go to the director and I say, hey man, the guy that was on my show, friend of mine, I'm like, I put 15 months of my identity in this, and I'm like, this is beyond me. Like, I could have another 6 months and I'm not ready for this today. In this kind of current, I shouldn't be swimming. And he's like, you're going. And I'm like, the fuck I am. Like, this is not good. And so I don't. And I'm like, I did my best. The second leg of the swim is normally about 25 minutes. People were done in about 10, 11 minutes because the current was so strong that day going with them to the next checkpoint where there's this barge that you swim up to and climb up this ladder. Well, some people were coming in so hot that they hit the barge or they got pushed out around the barge and out to sea. And some poor souls went under the barge. And they turned around and swam back out, and one guy broke his hand. But some almost died that day. And then after that leg, the director that said, hey, BB, you're going, he goes, you know what? The current today is more than we anticipated. We think we should cancel the rest of the event. So overall, when people ask how it went, we raised $700,000 for the military and Navy SEALs, right? Beautiful day. We finished at the World Trade Center. We're all carrying the flags. Everything was awesome. No one died. People say, Jim, aren't you just sick that you didn't finish? I go, well, part of me, yeah. You still feel a little bit emptiness. But I know that I was absolutely all in. And if I just got beat, wasn't because I didn't check all the boxes. Sometimes you just get beat. Someone else's or some event is better. And because of that, I was like, okay, well, I'm good to go. But if I sat there and I didn't do all the practice swims and I didn't have a coach and I wasn't in the pond, I'd be like, you just said you wanted to do it for the attention or for your ego, or you just pushed out. So how do you lead by example? How do you lead your family? How do you coach people if that's not you? And to your point, Jake and Brennan, is that if you are all in, then you just got a clear conscience and then you can move forward without feeling like shit.
You can even, I mean, I love that story. And a good aspect of it was like you didn't technically finish. So even though there was an aspect of failure there, you were able to live with that. You were okay with the outcome because you know that you put your all into it. And that's the biggest thing that matters, is just understanding that you reached your potential with the opportunities that you were presented, and you didn't quit. Like, you gave your all into it. And like, in the end of the day, where the cards fall, you're gonna be good with. Now that is different than trying. Like, saying I'm trying versus I'm giving it my all. I'm emptying the tank, everything I have into this. Those are two very different things. One is a justification for you giving effort, and the other is you're going to give everything you have, and you are basically going to not accept anything but success. Like, they're two very different things, and I often correct that when I hear that from clients I'm working with, because they'll say, like, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to eat better. I'm going to try to get in 4 workouts this week. What would you say if a coach pregame speech said, we're going to try to win this game? You'd be like, wow, well, thanks for the confidence. Like you
Right.
wouldn't believe in him. You wouldn't believe in the team because you're going to try. No, he says like, we're going to find it. Like Coach Brahman always said, we're going to find a way to win, whatever it takes. We're going to find a way. And that's the mindset you have to have, an approach that like looping it back to before, like I'm not going to try to eat better. Like I'm going to find a way to eat better. I'm going to find a way to do the things I need to do to get my body where I want it to be. Obstacles are going to come. There's going to be difficulties with anything you do in life, like finding a way to navigate those, not I'm going to try. Like those are very different things.
And like Jim, to your point, like if you hadn't gone all in with the preparation, like you would feel that. Like there would be that little sting of regret, and that would sit with you, and that would eat at you over time. It would eat you away from the inside. Most of what we've been talking about, to get into like some game theory, most of what we've been talking about are finite games. So it's like a swim race. It's a meet. This is what it's set up. The clear start and finish outcome. A football game, 60 minutes. At the end of the game, whoever has more points wins. There's rules to it. It's how you do that. Fitness for your life, there's no end point. There's no win. There's no like, I hit this goal and now I'm done. There's no amount of money that you make where you're satisfied. It's like, I hit this milestone. Now I'm going to set a new milestone. The goalpost always moves. You gain 10 pounds of muscle. Cool. Let's put on another 10. You add 25 pounds to your bench press. Cool. Let's add another 25 pounds. The goalpost always keeps moving because it's an infinite game. The goal is not to win. The goal is to keep playing. So like fitness, health, wealth, relationships are all infinite games you play for the rest of your life. So if there's no end point that you can hit to where you're done, the goal is just to keep playing the game. And if the goal is just to keep playing the game, you have to play it to where you won't have regret. So if you're not playing it to the highest level of your ability, that regret will stack up over time and you'll see it. So then the only strategy to approach it with from there is going all in and giving it everything.
How do you rectify in your head that you don't put on pads and helmets anymore?
Took a little bit of time. I guess Brennan and I had 2 very different processes for transitioning afterwards. It's like so much of your identity, like your prefrontal cortex doesn't fully form until you're 25. I played football right up until I was 24. And so it was my life. So it's like that was who I was. So like I had to become a different person afterwards. Like I am a different person now than when I was playing football because I had to be, because I couldn't live that life anymore. And that was like pretty painful. And so it took a little bit of time to make the transition. I would say like it's much better. What I miss the most is like the teammates, the culture, the camaraderie in the locker room, competing with your guys, like going out and winning games. That's so much fun. I don't miss the pain and the recovery and all of that stuff. So yeah, it was a little bit of a transition. I approach it to like it for a while. It was like, okay, now I have to find outlets for competition. You know, we played rec sports, we played flag football, we played volleyball, did these different things. Brent and I lived in Denver for a few years. We did extreme sports. So we were dirt biking and skiing and jumping cliffs and, you know, riding in some very questionable places to get that little bit of adrenaline rush.
Doing dumb boy shit.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was the best time ever. And so it was just like that was like an outlet for it. But where I've really found it in the last couple of years is now like in business. Like it's just a new game that we're playing now. And so that's been really cool of like kind of like I guess like completing the transformation of like Jake the football player to like who I am now. And so that's been really cool.
Jake noted that, you know, there was good and it was good and bad because like, you know, you miss playing on the big stage, you miss celebrating your wins, you miss the locker room camaraderie with the guys. Like there's a lot of aspects you miss, but there's also plenty behind the scenes that it's like, okay, well, I'm glad I don't have those 3-hour practices to do anymore. Like there's pros and cons to it for sure. You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into it to get prepared on that stage to perform that, you know, is very difficult that a lot of people don't like fully grasp of all the work that goes into it. With the transition post college, I quickly moved out to Colorado, got a job. I kind of made a plan for the next foreseeable years of, I got into construction. I was doing construction management. I had a path and I set goals that I wanted to achieve by a certain time period. And then was doing, high adrenaline sports out in Colorado. So that was like what I went into immediately. And then obviously I'm on a different path now with doing online health coaching. But it was kind of just finding that next goal. I think that's really important for anyone leading with sports, is not just attaching your identity to that sport, but the type of person that you are from that sport and setting new goals and things to work toward. I didn't just identify myself as a football player, and now that that's gone, I'm nothing. Thankfully, I was actually the most confident in myself when it was done, when I hung up the cleats, not during, which this might be surprising to a lot of people listening. Like, I was the most confident after I didn't make it to the NFL than when I was playing in college on the big stage. And there's some aspects of just not developing my confidence to where it should have been when I was playing. But the big reason why I had so much confidence in myself after it was done, similar to what we were just talking about, I knew I emptied the tank and gave it everything I had. And I saw it through to the end. Wasn't the outcome I wanted, but I knew I didn't let up and that there was no what ifs. Like, I maximized my potential, what God had given me, and that's okay. I can live with it and I can move on. And also I think back, like, the glass half full, the positive sides, not the negatives, because there's always negatives in any aspect you can look at. I looked at the positives that I went into an environment that I wasn't even confident I belonged. Like, my first goal was just get on the field. I actually think I told myself once when I got there, if I just get on the field, like, I'm gonna be good.
I said the same
That
thing.
that was a goal of mine. And like, to view like that was what I tried to achieve, or thought might be possible then, to what I accomplished in the end. Like, that's something to be proud of. And I'm not going to look at the negatives. I'm going to look at the journey and what I've accomplished, the person I became. And that told me that, like, anything, like, I know it's cliche, but like, anything you put your mind to, you can accomplish. Like, I truly believed that at that point. And so I didn't feel empty with football being gone. I felt like my next journey was just beginning, because I had become a new person. I had taught myself that I can do that through that journey. That's what I'm talking about, like the 40-year experience in 4 years.
Yep. There's a lot of points there to make, and one of the highest alcoholism rates for any industry is astronauts. Because once you're
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
awesome and you're outside the planet, you're like, well, how do I top that? And we've dealt with coaches that have clients that are NFL former players, and they're like, well, I played in the Super Bowl, I can't be at that level again, so I am therefore nothing. That's why I decided that with Athlete Builder, our mantra is win the day. So even after you win the Super Bowl tomorrow, there's going to be some things you can do to better either your mindset, your knowledge of whatever you want to do, what kind of teammate you are, training, nutrition, recovery. There's ways you can still move the needle the next day.
Mhm.
And 10 years from now. So like Jack just graduated from Ball State in December last year, and they had a rough year. They didn't win much at all. And I was talking to him and said, man, it'd be nice if you guys won some more games, actually made it to a bowl or whatever when he was playing. He goes, man, I came on as a walk-on during COVID. I ended up working my way to being a starter at Purdue, and he was all academic, and I finished my MBA in 4.5 years. And he started this rug making business, called Foot Stompers. So you look up on Instagram, John Gruden is holding a Foot Stompers rug, and he was on Bussin' with the Boys and Part of My Take. And so he sends these rugs to these people, and they post it, and then he gets orders for a rug. So the way you guys sit right now, that likeness in those sweatshirts, he can make that into a rug, or that bulldog behind your head. Anyways, he goes, so he gets a job. He's down in Tennessee, Nashville in January. Like 2 months before, he was still in the football world. I'm like, you're in Nashville, Tennessee. You have a big boy job working in the finance world for a publicly traded real estate company. you're not in football at all anymore. All the boys are gone. They're all across the country or Midwest. And I go, how's that feel? He goes, well, you feel really alone. I miss just screwing around with everybody. There's 50 different guys I would see each day, or we would be over at the facility training, or Jack and his other teammate, they started a Bible study on the team, which grew to 2 Bible studies, and now they do it on a Zoom call, Bible study and stuff. He goes, yeah, you feel really empty. I'm just trying to rebuild myself. And then he ups and runs a marathon 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, who runs a marathon that you ran for 6 seconds and stopped, right? He goes, I don't know, I need something. So I could see that he's trying out different things. He's evolving, but still takes time. They're still missing his buddies. So he's somewhat alone, but not quite. And I think that having a coach just for that piece, helping people transition, would be helpful. Even just that niche of like, now what? Now what do I do? Anyway, so just to finalize that point, but I always want to be respectful of your time, but there's something I need to get into before we hop off. Is you guys talk about your metabolic blueprint and metabolic reset program. And that's a bit involved and more than just, hey, we're gonna work out 4 times a week, cut out sugar, make sure I have 1 gram of protein per pound, etc. Like, this is more involved. So can you explain to me and everyone else listening what that all entails?
Yeah, absolutely. So up until this point, we've been optimizing lifestyle factors. So like, what does your training look like? What's your nutrition look like? What are your calories? What are your macros? How are we recovering? What's sleep look like? Steps, like all that fun stuff. And that is still the foundation. Like that is 80% of the game. But there's more to it than just that. There's systems running inside your body that you can't see from the outside. Like you can track a number on the scale, or you can see a muscle growth from the mirror, or things like that. There's, metabolic inflexibility. There's hormone regulation and hormone dysfunction, cortisol dysfunction, thyroid dysfunction. There's different things that can happen in internal systems in the body, a chronic inflammation that you can't see from the outside, but we can measure on the inside. All of those things I just listed, that is what, the mitochondria of the cell, and leads to metabolic adaptation, which are just big words, fancy ways of saying that your performance is negatively impacted. And so you can still be doing those 80% that we talked about. You can still be doing those things and not seeing results. And so we wanted to just increase the amount of value that we could deliver to all of our clients and all of our future clients, and take things to the next level. So the metabolic performance blueprint is a blood test that you test a number of different biomarkers across those different areas that I mentioned. And so we can see where are the gaps in your performance, where things look good, where are some areas that, we might want to address. And then we have a variety of modalities of which that we can address those, whether that's recommending supplements, building a protocol based on your blood work, recommending, different protocols that we implement, whether that's adjusting training, what do we need to hit specifically in our nutrition, how do we need to adjust our sleep, how do we get better sleep, different things like that. So the metabolic performance blueprint is the blood test, tests a range of biomarkers. You're going to get your biological age. You're going to have a dashboard to see all of those results. You're going to get a personalized precision supplement protocol based on those results. It's purely a recommendation. 1-to-1, an hour, one-on-one results call to go over everything. And we're going to recommend a 90-day protocol for you to implement and get things turned around from there. Now, the metabolic ignition protocol would be the 6-month or year-long program that we could recommend on the back end, depending on the individual. That is still training, nutrition, accountability, ongoing blood work at a certain frequency, ongoing, updating supplements based on the blood work, making sure that we're optimizing all of those factors that we're looking like. And so that's going to be launching here in the next month or so. We're extremely excited about it.
Anything to add, Brennan?
No, I think Jake crushed it. We just wanted to take a step up and provide all-in comprehensive plan for any clients that we can work with. Yeah, you can dial in fitness, nutrition, movement, hydration, sleep, all those daily habits. But if you're truly trying to optimize your body's performance and reach the full potential you can, and then there's more levels to it. And so that's why we open up the door to blood work and supplement. And the analogy Jake gave, like basically looking under the hood to fix all the inner workings of the vehicle so that way it has the best performance. And so that's what we're aiming to do with this new offer we're rolling out.
I forget which number was which. One of my testosterone numbers was 0, and the other one was right around 100. So then what do you recommend for that?
I would recommend speaking to a licensed medical professional that we have on our medical team. And so they could put together what would be the recommended protocol, whether that's HRT or looking at what other factors we could address before that. But definitely something not to ignore at those levels, for sure.
Sure. So you would have like a nurse practitioner or someone on your team that could say, hey, you should supplement by getting injectables or pellets or something along those lines, just as an example.
Yeah. So we have a couple different protocols depending on what the person wants. So the metabolic ignition protocol is training, nutrition, accountability, blood work, supplementation. If someone wants a higher level of care and they want access to a medical team, licensed medical professionals for prescribed hormone replacement therapy, peptides, GLPs, anything like that, we have that as well. And so that's where we would point you to someone on our medical team to approach that.
Gotcha. I've had clients that want to make it to the Arnold in strongman. So they're going to ask about Tren, Anavar, etc. What happens then?
We don't support steroids around here. That's not what we're about. That is a different realm, in that we coach performance and we coach health. A lot of the fitness industry takes physique and strength as a proxy measure of health and performance, but we see things kind of differently like that. So if someone was to over index on that and compromise health, that's not something we necessarily believe in, but more power to them. We just wouldn't be the right people for that.
Yeah, people would ask me about that too. Hey, Jim, what do I do here? I said, you should talk to some other people in the industry that have knowledge there and have experience. That's not me. Haven't tried any of that. Don't plan to. Won't be doing any of that. But there are folks that do. And even though I was the state chair for strongman for a number of years, and I would host competitions, I would have people at the lowest amateur level winning a state contest at my place, which then would qualify them for maybe a regional, and then they could go to nationals, and then maybe the Arnold or something like that, or maybe World's Strongest Man. So essentially, like single A ball in baseball or double A ball was where they were competing at my place, all cranked up on steroids, and they still can't get out of my gym, meaning they can't win the contest at my gym, let alone winning the Midwest or the nationals or something bigger. I'm like, man, what's your liver looking like, buddy? What's your kidneys looking like? What's going on here? And they're like, I don't care. I'm going to be World's Strongest Man. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're
At
not.
what cost?
Right. But even they're still not getting there. But yeah, you're right. At what cost? And
Yeah.
there is a huge cost. All right.
And then I think people see peptides in a similar route. Like there's different views of like they see peptides as the same thing as steroids, or they see it as some like magical cure. We see peptides like we've all seen the Fast and Furious movies, right? And they have nitrous, so they're in the race and they hit the nitrous and it takes them to win the race. That is similar to peptides, right? So they can do a lot of great things and take you to some next levels. But you have to hit the nitrous at the right point in the race. If you hit the nitrous at the start, you're not winning the race. So you have to do everything else and have all of that in line before you, take that next step.
What percentage of the race is the nitrous versus the overall race? And the overall race includes all the practice, all the buildup, everything else, and then the race itself. And then for a small fraction at the end is the nitrous, and a small fraction of what you guys do is the peptides. Everything else, like you can take a bunch of peptides and eat like shit and not lift and wonder, like, man, what the hell's going on here? Like, well,
Yeah,
you
100%.
you kind of suck, right?
That's why we start with the foundation, and the lifestyle factors is the most important part.
Yep. Well, I'm glad we met, through Eric and the AEA Institute, and that we're now working together and exploring the Mental Edge Academy. And I wouldn't have met you guys probably otherwise, other than like a random DM saying, hey, do you want to be on the show? So I absolutely lucked out there. As we're wrapping up, I had these rapid fire questions, so I want to hear from both. So, Brennan, what do you listen to when you train?
Either rap or EDM, specifically house music.
Okay. How about you, Jake?
Same thing, rapper EDM. the gym we go to plays like decent music out loud, and I've actually been training no headphones. Now there's still music playing in the gym, but like not my own headphones. I've actually been really enjoying that lately. So yeah.
You ever like, so I've been running my own gym for a while, and sometimes like for therapy, I would go there late on a Friday when no one's there, and maybe it's in the summer, so there's still some natural light, but I turn the lights off, and I'll just squat with no music and just be in my head and find some point of pain. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna work through this today. You ever just get in your head with no music at all or something different?
Occasionally, yeah. I like
Yeah.
doing that.
Not
How
too often, but because I like if you find the right tune, it gives you that extra boost. Like I don't know if you notice this, but like the perfect song comes on when you're hitting that last set. It's like just a huge boost of energy to get through. Like I enjoy that aspect, but very very rarely have I done the no music.
usually I pose this question for couples and spouses, so I'm gonna say with just you two, what's an adventure that neither one of you have ever done that you think would be cool to do?
Skydive.
Ooh, I've done that.
Skydive would be cool. One adventure we're kind of on is we want to ski all of the best ski resorts in the world. So in Denver, we covered most of the ones out west, but we haven't touched Canada, South America, Europe, or Asia. And so I think just hitting every major ski resort in the world would be pretty cool.
Cool. Favorite sport movie? That's hard.
Friday Night Lights.
Let's say Remember the Titans or Gridiron Gang.
Gridiron Gangs.
Favorite sport to watch?
Got the answer.
Yeah, it's football.
Figure skating.
Close second.
Curling.
Favorite athlete to watch, dead or alive, any sport?
Dylan Thieneman.
Homer.
Final answer.
Awesome. Do you have a book recommendation?
Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That book is a game. The secrets. If you're searching for something, answers, the secrets are in the Bible.
It's a good one too. How about you, Brennan?
Bible.
I just finished Samuel, learned about David. What was great for me in that story about David is that he oftentimes would say, "Hey, God, man, just tell me what to do. I don't care what it is. Just tell me. You want me to fight the Philistines or not? You do? Great. I'll go do it." So even as a little kid, I'm going to go do whatever you. Now, David is quite flawed in a lot of ways, but in terms of asking God, "Hey, just tell me what you want. I'm doing it." And so in May, I'm driving down to Alabama to see my daughter graduate from university, and on the way back on Saturday, it's a long drive, and I'm like, man, I'm not sure. Like, I'm running this whole division for AEA. I still have the podcast and everything else I do with Athlete Builder, and I run this gym. And if you have two quarterbacks, you have zero. And if you have two main jobs, you have zero. I'm like, I gotta pick one. And I'm like, at this point, like, do I sell to this guy, which didn't really work out. This first one, unfortunately, just didn't cash flow. But I'm like, I don't know what to do. And at this point, I could give a shit. Just tell me. I don't even care. Right. I'm so at a loss because I weighed out all the pros and cons. And so so I laid it out. I said, all right, so I'm going to get back on Saturday. On Monday, I'm meeting with these coaches on my staff. I'm meeting with this other gym outside of my staff. If that falls through, and I just lined up here the boxes I'm going to check. And if at the end of all these boxes, there's nothing else, there's no new path, I'm just going to unwind it and sell off the equipment, make my own home gym and move forward. And on Monday, I go to one of the coaches and he's like, I've been thinking about, I would be interested in taking over. And I came up with like a 70-30 split. And the next Monday we came and talked about it. I said, are you guys thinking about the whole 100%? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And by the following Monday, plus one day, Tuesday, it was signed and done. And it wasn't the price I had wanted, but it was a decent price. And he's a big faith guy too, so he was praying about it at the same time. And so on Saturday, coming back from Alabama, I'm praying, like, just tell me what's next. I don't care. And by Monday, I had an option, and then 2 weeks later, it was done. And I was like, so people are like, so last weekend was my last charity event that I ran there. It was a military one, so I'm saying goodbye to everybody and talking about the new leadership, and I break down a little bit, and all I can manage at the end was thank you. But I was like, I asked, man, are you upset? I'm like, yeah, I'm upset. I have some emptiness, but I'm excited for the relief. Like, you regret doing it? I'm like, man, you know what? Jesus has told me to do it. So I got to be good to go. So that's my relatable story about the Bible.
Love
That's
that.
awesome. That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Real life or fictional, comic or movie, I don't care, or a book. Do you have a superhero or a villain that you like? Or both? It can be different.
Batman. I always loved Batman. He's my favorite.
He's the most common picked here.
Yeah. He did more with less. He didn't have any powers. He just had billions of dollars. Yeah.
His ingenuity, right? How about you, Brennan? Man. All right, villain. Who you guys like?
I think probably the villain to the superhero we just said. The Joker.
Yeah, he's the most common as well. I like Darth Vader. I like Hannibal Lecter quite a bit from Silence of the Lambs. If you haven't seen that movie, it's wild. What's your favorite lift?
Like exercise specifically? It's a good one.
Incline bicep curls.
Those are fun.
I just did those this morning. I was thinking about that one. I love doing side raises.
Just to get bigger shoulders.
You can never have too big a shoulder.
Right. My man Weiss, Brian Weiss, I train with. That's his favorite. For me, it was back squat because it always scared me the most. So I always felt like I learned the most about myself. Atlas Stones was a quick number 2, and sleds. Pushing sleds are a favorite of mine. You could be a complete idiot and get better physically by pushing sleds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a
Pushing
quote?
sleds are super satisfying.
Yes.
You're just moving something from point A to point B.
Yes. You can do it for cardio, endurance, raw strength, power, right? The help sessions that Jack's teammates would be sent to if they did poorly or showed up late would be they show up at the facility and they got to push a 45-pound metal plate on the turf down and
Yep.
back. And I'm like, oh man, you're that low to the ground pushing. That is miserable. That is miserable. You guys have a quote for us?
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Henry Ford?
There's no way you just took my quote.
There's no way that was your quote.
There's no way you just took that.
One of the questions I had early on, I forgot to ask, and you guys probably don't know them all because you're on the field. What's your favorite, like, Purdue tradition? Whether it's the drum or the train or boiler up or 1, 2, 3, 4, first down. You guys remember that chant, right? That started with me, and there was no expletive in the end of that, or Purdue Pete or Harry's. What's your favorite Purdue like tradition? Breakfast Club, like Triple X.
Well, I definitely enjoyed Breakfast Club, but we don't have to get into those details. Where I love the train, the Boilermaker Special, and I love Purdue Pete and like what the mascot represents. Like it represents like a blue collar hard worker, and I love the phrase "hammer down." Just the overall what all that represented really stuck with me, especially through like the walk-on journey of playing, and it was just a lot of hard work, and that's what the mascot represents. So I like that.
I think the same thing. It's what the mascot represents. There's outside of the facility. There's a massive statue of. They want to say it's a Boilermaker. I think it's technically a blacksmith, but he's like got a sword on an anvil and he's got a hammer, he's just swinging it down, hammer and steel.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like the thought process, like you mentioned, win the day of just every day is just a swing of the hammer, and you're just forging yourself closer and closer into becoming that person. I always loved that imagery. And we saw that statue every day when we were going to the facility.
When I went to check out Purdue before I decided to go to school there as an undergrad, I'm just wearing one of my high school shirts, and my high school, they lost one football game in 4 years when I was there. They were three-time state champs, one-time national champs. So I'm just wearing a T-shirt representing the school because that's the high school, and I'm just walking by the facility there where they're all working out. It's not the co-rec, and I'm thinking this is the co-rec where everyone trains, right? And it's all the football players that are in there, right, looking at me, and I'm wearing the state championship T-shirt like I might be some football player. Clearly not. And they're all looking at me like eyeballing me and checking me out. I was like, this can't be where the normal student athletes look like, right? So that's my first foray over at the facility. I remember that when I read about the Boilermakers, Purdue sucked at football way back in the day, and they wanted to win some games, so they went and to this factory where people were making Boilermakers and or blue collar like welders and blacksmiths, and they enrolled them in one class, so they were in the college, and they put them on the football team, and they started whooping ass. And so the local paper called this team of Boilermakers that Purdue had brought, and that's how the name kind of stuck. So at least that's the legend. Where can people find you guys online and whatnot?
Best place to find us on Instagram. Mine's at jake.thieneman.
Brennan?
Brennan as well.
Same with me, Brennan.
Okay. And then for your company, All In Performance.
We do have a company account. It's all.in performance. That's where we put like a lot of our client success stories. Best way to get in contact us though is to follow me and just reach out, DM me All In, and we can chat.
Okay. All right. And as always, reach out to me if you have questions for in general, questions for prior guests, info@athlete-builder.com, and hit me up for the Mental Edge Academy, our summer boot camps, and anything else, high school and college teams. We're bringing it to as many people as possible. Our goal is to make an impact and help you build the best version of yourselves. Brennan, Jake, and Dylan, who's not here, but in spirit, thanks so much for the time, the gift of your knowledge, and being authentic and sacrificing your time of the day to help other people get better. It was a gift, and I appreciate you both for it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.